Fuck it, going loud. Hey guys, alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do a review of the preview for A17, go down the different features that have been added, talk about stuff that maybe got dropped, and really just highlight everything we're seeing coming into this and what our thoughts are going to be about that. And the first section just kind of touches on a number of things. It's the vehicles overhaul, the new physics, bicycle, motorcycle, Jeep, the new camera controls, the fact you can actually look at the map and stuff when you hop off, or without having to hop off of the bike, which is pretty fucking huge from my perspective when you're wanting to know where you're at or where you're going, and then suddenly you got to stop in the middle of a field, hop off and look at your map, and then hop back on the bike is a pain in the ass. Now, in regards to PvP and what this is going to mean, the biggest thing obviously is just it makes the map smaller with the newer vehicles because they seem to be faster, and really brings a different perspective to how you want to handle things. They're louder, they're bigger, so they obviously attract more attention. But they seem to be doing more damage as well, so you can actually probably run over players again like you could back in A15, which was really fucking fun.
I mean, it looks like you can have multiple people in the vehicle as well, is one of the things they're trying to print, isn't it? So, like, the Jeep can have maybe up to 4.
Yeah, I know that they've got 2 seats, so we're making the assumption for 2 people. But yeah, it looks like in the back you might be able to squeeze a couple more people, kind of like the truck from State of Decay, the truck from State of Decay. As well as the vehicles from PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds PUBG. It kind of seems to fall within that, like the possibility, the realm of possibility there.
Yeah, I mean, I like when you said we were talking about the map, being able to pull up the map. But you also can use the mouse to help you steer as well. So you can spin the camera while you're driving around, so you can see what's around you. So in PvP, if you're being chased, you can spin the camera while driving forward.
And I wonder if you can shoot, because that's, Joel's doing all these videos. He's by himself, obviously, so some of the features that might come into multiplayer like that, I'm wondering if you can shoot off there, so you can, A, do drive-bys, which is going to be pretty fun for gang wars of some sort, and B, the fact that again, you can do drive-bys. So if you're dealing with a player problem, a zombie problem, whatever it might be, you can just, creep by, just unload a freaking MP5 or an AK or something like that and just clean things up real quick.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm really excited for the Jeep, but it brings up a lot of questions that I have as far as where A17 is going, because wasn't it true that Joel said that his vision for 70s that I was more PvE instead of PvP focused?
Yeah, well, I mean, and everything here, I would argue, is 100% PvE focused, but it's still obviously going to have an impact on PvP. Like, they added the painting system with A16, right? That was PvE focused, and make your stuff pretty, make it look cool. But from a PvP perspective, it allowed you to hide things. So you could take a simple wooden block and make it look like concrete, and maybe it goes unnoticed. So, I mean, everything they do really has ramifications on both ends of the spectrum. But, they're doing all this stuff with a PvE focus and saying they're going to come back to PvP at a later date to really focus on things for that.
Well, I definitely think Jeep changes the game for PvP, because not only, instead of riding up on the mini bikes now one at a time and potentially getting picked off, if that is the case where you can shoot outside of the Jeep, you're going to have, groups of people just driving around, running over folks. Very similar to some Battle Royale games, right? Where you're sticking your head out the Jeep and shooting people as you drive by. So I think that's definitely going to change that quite a bit. I mean, because it's a little broken, I think. If that Jeep functions as well as everybody hopes, the current state of the zombies, that's not really going to be difficult to deal with the PvE aspect of the game, I think.
I mean, they were talking about making the vehicles customizable from blocks, and you could change the weapon loadout on it at one point. I don't know whether that's been dropped or not. I can't still see any mention of that.
Yeah, I know he hasn't brought that up in the last couple videos. But no, I completely agree with you, Intro, where it's like, you suddenly can just make zombies irrelevant. And a lot of people brought up, well, I'm just going to raid bases by slamming repeatedly into the building, with my Jeep. But I think the biggest counter to that is the more zombies you run over, the more damage you're doing to the vehicle, the more you have to repair it. And even with the ability to now craft, the oil in order to make the repair kits, which, basically it really makes it much more accessible versus, past alphas where you were struggling to find oil and make repair kits at times. You still have to repair it. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess the repair cost to repair a Jeep is going to be vastly higher than an auger or a mini bike or anything like that. And so running over hordes of zombies, while cool, more than likely is going to fuck that thing up pretty quick.
Oh yeah, it's certainly not going to be staying around for too long, especially when you can take trees and things like that out as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think he slams into a building at one point and like knocks out maybe 1 or 2 blocks, and then you take into account an average of like what 15 to 20 block strength multiplier when it comes to for land claim blocks, and it makes it completely ignorant to use for any kind of rating. It's kind of the same concept of wanting to use a rocket launcher or shooting at a block with an AK. I mean, yeah, it takes away points, but the amount of ammo and effort you're wasting in doing so is completely negated by just using a pickaxe or an auger.
It's definitely gonna be interesting seeing 3 guys in a Jeep with rocket launchers shooting as they're driving around.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if you can do like, and I don't know if you remember this, but back in the day with Halo 2 and I guess 3 and 4 as well, you used to be able to shoot the ground with a rocket launcher if you were in the passenger seat
Rocket
and like
jumps.
yeah, you had flip the Warthog over. So I wonder if you could have the same effect on here without killing yourself and like launch it over the top of a building or something. Which also begs the question: how much will the vehicle take damage from, if any, from fall damage? I mean, could you just launch off the top of a skyscraper, hit the ground, and keep going like nothing happened? One would hope that it would take so much damage it'd be irreparable.
Well, that'll be from the physics part of it, won't it?
Yeah, that's what my hopes are, because when they first came out with the mini bikes in 13, whatever alpha it was when they first came out, there was no fall damage, so you just launch off the tops of mountains and land like it was no problem. And even now, like you just basically time it right, you hop off the bike and there's no fall damage. Same concept exists in Ark, and I don't know if there's a good way to really prevent that from being a kind of a workaround to making large jumps. But I really don't care if they fix that or not. I mean, that's completely irrelevant to me. You got to time it right. Half the time people don't. They end up breaking a leg and taking damage anyways. But the effort you have to put into to make that irrelevant and prevent it is just not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze in that situation. The bicycle is another cool thing, and my hope for that is that they're going to make it very easily accessible early on. Because if it's something that requires similar effort to mini bike in the past, what's the point of even getting the bicycle? It should be something that's easily found or easily built. You know what I mean? Something along those lines, just getting some pipe and things.
Yeah, that's what Joe made in the video where he introduced the bicycle. It's that step between the mini bike and because it uses stamina to actually pedal though, doesn't it? So
yeah, and that's another thing. So a lot of PvPers, they're wanting to get their wellness to a maximum possible, and that requires having maximum athletics. They won't use mini bikes at all. They'll just run literally everywhere. Like they force themselves to go everywhere, not even trying to use a mini bike. I feel like the bicycle work, involves a bit more when it comes to being athletic, and so should give you more athletic points. Not to mention the fact you have to build it and everything else.
Well, I think we're definitely going to see a lot of bicycle gangs popping up.
I'm going to go ahead and copyright Telestakes rule right now. So the next part is Sleepers 2.0, and it really only talks about the Vulture Sleepers. I'm assuming they've upgraded for the most part the sleeper system. The only thing I want to say to that is it's really annoying when there's a server lag and you walk into a building and you're like halfway through looting and all of a sudden 17 zombies all spawn, stand up, and attack you. So as long as it fixes that, I'm happy.
I mean, a lot of it when you see the videos and the POIs that he's bringing up, it doesn't have the sleepers in there to start off with, but it's only at the end. And I think in the last 2 that you actually see the sleepers, and they seem to be working up very, very quickly as soon as you start hitting anything or using a gun or anything like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like they're not there, and then all of a sudden they are there. So the next part is the dungeon POIs, and this is the one that really has almost no bearing on PvP, and arguably has little to no bearing on PvE unless you're one of those people. It's like, well, it was designed to be done this way, so I'm going to do it that way. And that's because like with skyscrapers, for example, or even like the hotels and the apartment buildings and stuff, all the good shit's at the top. And so you just get, 200-300 frames, and you frame all the way up, grab what you want, and frame all the way back down, and you're done. Or, the smart person builds a ladder up so they can continuously come back whenever it's, it's restored or whatever, respawn, and reloot it, and then leave quickly with, with minimal effort. And yeah, it defeats the purpose of it, and some of the fun is lost, but if you can do it, you're probably just going to do it. Because if you don't, somebody else will, and then all your effort to get to the top before somebody else is completely null and void.
Yeah, but didn't it say that also at the end of the bits where all the lovely loot's going to be, they're going to have bosses as such?
Well, they do now. They're supposed to, at least on the skyscrapers. You're supposed to get up there, and they're supposed to be like a really hard, a couple of the feral zombies, the really ugly alien-looking ones, stuff like that. I mean, they're still there, but You can kite them fairly easily. You can get up there with frames and literally frame up to the really special spots, and then break a block and they can't get to you, and you can just go ahead and loot freely. But I mean, I like the idea because yes, if I want to go ahead and have a challenge, I can run a dungeon. If I don't want to have a challenge, I don't have to fuck with the dungeon. So I kind of like the idea of having both, because in PvP you're just there to fight players anyway. So what the hell's the difference? But if you're doing PvE with friends and stuff, then you just say, okay, for this this playthrough, we are not going to cheat our way around anything. We're going to do everything as it's supposed to be done. We're going to climb through and find and break, and we're not going to just frame to the top of the building and grab the shit and go.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to obviously do it a couple of times to find out where the good shit is to start off with. But once you know that, then you can do it. Yeah.
And one of the better buildings is probably the medical building, where it has a lot of hidden stuff that you can't just frame to the top. You have to actually go down into a little bit. It's in the top few floors, but it still requires that effort of actually getting to that spot and finding it hidden behind a wall or a dummy thing, or the ground drops into a loot room, but there's spikes there. And I mean, I love those concepts. And I would like to see them incorporate that more.
I have done quite a few in I think about 5 or 6 that Joel showed. There are obviously the booby traps that you don't see, like the false floors and the floor traps and all that kind of thing.
With the dungeon stuff, I mean, I do like the PvE aspect of the game, but the very last comment on the dungeons POI 2.0 is that they added 70 new points of interest. I'd really like to see, like, no more cookie cutter homes and really unique towns, basically.
Yeah, and then I think the biggest thing with that is like the random ones you see out in the you see the same like 5 houses when you're just running around randomly. You're not even in a town. It's like, was there just like one architect and he was just super lazy, or is this like my sister playing Sims and it's always the same house, just slightly rotated to the right a little? But yeah, I mean, with 70 new POIs, I don't know if, and my fear for that is it's like 70 new POIs, but it's like really it's only like 7 POIs, and they're done 10 different ways. I'm hoping it's 70 actual unique POIs. They're all vastly different, so that the odds of a repeating house in the wilderness is not the same. Because when it comes to a town, if it's a district or an area that's suburbanized, I mean, of some kind, I want those houses to look similar, but not exactly the same, the way that you actually have in in an area like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of them, they are unique in what they've done. I think what did it show? It showed at least 15 different ones on the video before release of Kraken.
All right, so then the next section is the player, and then quotation marks, bandit motion capture animation. And this is the kind of part where I want to jump into this back and forth Amrath and I have had in private. And is that whether or not bandits are going to be in A17. Now, they were talked about early on. They showed the Whitewater guys and the bandits and the concept art, but I don't believe there was much more after that really detailed what the bandits are going to be there doing. There's also a section later on we're going to discuss where they actually talk about quests and stuff like that you're going to get from NPCs, which we're going to assume is probably from the traders. But does that actually mean there's going to be bandits you're going to have to fight, or bandit quests you can take if you want to go down that particular route? But the biggest part is obviously, they did mocap with this, so you have better looking movement. The players look up and down. Combat movements have power moves that they've been talking about for a while, which is really cool. And just the entire idea of that the ragdoll system has been improved with this is really neat. But I still want to know about those fucking bandits.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the first thing in the release, wasn't it? On the first video for Alpha 17, he was talking about your 4 different traders.
It's the fucking thumbnail.
Yeah. This is it. So it's all about the new traders and what have you. And then they're going about the new trader camp as well.
Yep, with the school bus and everything, yeah.
That's right, yeah. So, and this is where we were bouncing backwards and forwards, because looking at Joel, when he spawns in his zombies, you can actually see all the trader names actually in there, as well as the trader test. It's, I don't know. I think we'll be surprised when we will get the new traders. Whether we'll get the new bandits,
yeah,
depends, because I mean, they've not said they've got a lot of new character designers, which is the thing that we will be looking at. It's got a lot of environmental artists and a lot of level designers, but not character creators. So that might mean that the bandits get left till 18 or beta.
Well, I know that section is talking about the player motion capture animation. That's something I'm really looking forward to, because I hated seeing your teammates say, there's somebody over in this direction and we're all facing one direction, not looking up or down. Something they talked about, like you're gonna see if you're staring at the sky for some reason, you'd see your friend staring at the sky.
The other part
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, the other part is when you see somebody running, it looks like fucking Forrest Gump running through the through the woods or whatever, or it's just like straight back and his legs are just turning, his arms aren't hardly moving, like almost like SpongeBob-esque, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you see so many other people when they're playing, the gun's actually 17 miles away from the body or something.
Yeah, yeah, the shiver shake, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the combat movements, the power moves they're going to include, that's going to be interesting. Adding a new dynamic to melee weapons instead of that weird frontwards motion of tapping zombies in the head, being able to actually charge up your swing and do a bit more damage. Again, it's just something else, though, that I'm worried is going to make PvE irrelevant.
Well, I think it's going to help PvP as well, because, I mean, before in PvP, melee weapons were basically fucking irrelevant with guns. And even with that, it's still bringing a knife to a gunfight. However, if close quarters, most people are shaky and their adrenaline's going, so they're having a hard time actually aiming at you. And you're coming in with a sledgehammer, you might be able to just knock them completely down to the ground and dead with one heavy swing with a sledgehammer. But they've been talking about this for a while. And I'm kind of surprised it took them so long, but I'm glad that they're finally bringing it in, because even in late game, if you have just unlimited amounts of ammo and you can just use guns whenever you want, it's like, why would I even want to use a sledgehammer when it might take 2 hits versus just one tap to the head with this AK and I'm good to go. I like the fact that they're trying to bring more attention and make the actual physical combat much more relevant.
Yeah, it just makes it a lot quieter, doesn't it? When you talk about we'll be coming on to weapons overhaul in the next bit, but it's quieter, isn't it? If you've got a club or a sledgehammer or something like that, it doesn't make sound except for you grunting, apparently. So you sounded like Serena Williams going around going.
So the next part is going to be the weapon overhaul. I'm going to run down this really quick because there's quite a bit here, and then we can touch on them individually after. Replace gun parts with attachable modifications, compatible with buff and skill frameworks. Full guns instead of parts and loot containers. Weapon quality determines how many mods can be attached. Mods won't have quality tiers. Removing a mod may not be possible, still in development, so that obviously means that there might be some issues with that early on. Size of crosshairs accurately reflects cone of hit probability. All mods use a single item ID number, but allow for 30,000 variable mods possible, which is huge for the modding community. And then power moves for melee weapons, use the right mouse button to expend stamina. Weapon sounds tagged to animations to better maintain sound syncing correctly. Perks and skills and buffs will affect various aspects of each weapon. Weapons can be crafted at workstation. Mods added through assembly interface. Mods won't be craftable, obtained through scavenging trader and quests. Weapons can be tinted to other colors using a special tinting mod slot. Now, this is one that I think you and I, Amaranth, went back and forth a little bit as well. If this goes all the way back to like Alpha 9 before they dropped Unity 5, where before you'd make molds and you could just mass produce any gun you wanted so long as you had all the molds. And then you could also make more molds once you had the molds, so that you got one sniper rifle, a complete, the 5 pieces to make it from the molds. You would just make additional molds and hide them, and you never had to worry about guns ever again. And I really like the fact that they made those much more crucial by removing the ability to just craft guns willy-nilly like it was nothing. And I mean, I know a larger portion of the community wants that to come back from the PvE's perspective because it makes it easier, but I want that level of difficulty and I want that level of importance on the guns, because if you raid somebody and you take all their guns, it should be, okay, I've got all the guns now, this is empowering me and taking away from that team. But if they can just make more guns whenever they want, all of that becomes irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. If you can make your own guns by using molds, this is what 9 was all about. If you can make your own guns with a mold, it's just like, yeah, raid me, no problems. 30 blocks away from my base, I've got a secret cache where I've got all the molds. I'll just remake it, come raid it, and take it all back again. It's 2 minutes inconvenience. This time, you've got to go get all the guns yet again, and it makes it more realistic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The biggest part of this, I mean, if we get proper gun mods, which it looks like we are now, and they don't remove that, they keep it to where you have to actually work to get the gun stuff. You can't just craft it on the workbench like it's nothing. I mean, that is huge. That's something I've been wanting for a long time, especially ever since I played PUBG, where, you actually had to get, scopes and attachments. You didn't just pick up a sniper rifle and it was good to go. You had to actually work even more for it. And that's what I'm kind of hoping we see here is that you can get custom scopes on everything. I think there's actually a hunting rifle with a scope you can get now. Obviously an MP5. I'm hoping they don't fix it, but I would love to see the ability to put like a 5x or a 4x magnification on a pistol, just for shits and gigs, because I think that would be incredible. But yeah,
the way they said they're going to build it is that it's fully customizable, that you can put anything onto anything. So you could end up like you say, you could have an 8x on a pistol. Well, this is it. So I mean, because they're saying it's that you get whole guns instead of parts, and the I forgot what it says now. All moves use a single ID, so it's putting everything together that weapons can be craftable, mods can be added through accessible interface. So, but the mods won't be craftable. So you see your 8x and your 4x, your extended mags, your silencers. What did he put the spring and coil on for the pistol to actually make it into like a submachine gun, and this angle. So those you can't craft. You can only get from traders or scavenging. So that's going to make it interesting.
I like that part, but again, the weapons can be crafted at a workstation. Makes me nervous. My hope is what that is referencing is essentially that you can get all the gun parts and you can't assemble them in your inventory. You have to actually assemble them on a workbench, or maybe they're going to even branch it out even further, where you can make any gun part, whatever it might be, but you can't just make it with some springs and duct tape. You've got to actually find some special components that are required to make each gun piece. So instead of finding a pistol handle, you find a handle. You can use that to craft a sniper handle with a couple other components, and then you can use that to make the sniper. I mean, that would be really cool. I would love that, because it still requires going out and finding that handle.
I don't think they're actually. I think they're getting ready because it says whole guns instead of parts. So I don't know. It seems to me maybe you just craft the gun rather than just craft the parts.
Well, the last little bit I kind of want to touch on here is the size of crosshairs accurately reflects cone of hit probability. And so what that means for me, at the very least, is I'll no longer be able to be a master with the crossbow, because right now I don't even need the fucking crosshair. I just was so used and played so long with that red dot. I just kind of have a gut feeling for where the right part of the screen is at to aim to shoot it. And so now that's no longer relevant. And I won't mind that. And I was really excited when they had the sights, but because the thing twitches around in your hand so goddamn much, like you got Parkinson's or something, I feel like Michael J. Fox trying to line up a shot here to hit somebody. And
wow.
Too soon, guys. But that's the problem I have, is that I don't mind using that sight if it works properly, but if it's not working properly, what's the point?
I mean, they did show the shotgun with the duckbill, and that was working correctly. And then there was this, when the pistol he put on the 2x scope, it dropped to a red dot on the pistol. So, and that was spot in the zone. So it looks like they have got the accuracy of the gun systems down to quite a good point.
Which is fine, like I said, as long as it's not vibrating out of your hand, which is the problem right now. So the next part is the buff overhaul. Improving old buff system with a more robust and optimized framework, designed to work and stack with blocks, items, weapons, clothing, skills, perks, attributes, all that stuff, and can be triggered and modified by events during a buff's lifetime. Don't really have a whole lot to say about this, other than it seems pretty cool. I didn't have a huge problem with the buff system, but I'm glad to see they're trying to improve even stuff like that.
Well, obviously it seems like, again, they're designing, like I said, weapons and clothing skills. So you could potentially have some people making it more, more RP. That you'll have the guy that goes in the big heavy armor that stands up the front and takes all the flak, while you have the little gimpies around the side taking pot shots with the sniper rifles in the cloth armor. It's like send in the meat wagon.
Yeah, kind of like
that way.
The standard trinity you have in most MMOs, where you have a tank, healer, and a DPS.
Yeah, obviously. Well, again, it's we'll be coming to that a little bit later on as well. But that's part and parcel of it. You will in PvP, you'll have your teams, won't you? That you'll have people that will go out scavenging, people that will go out do this, but they'll then be able to use the perk skills and all the other attributes to actually make themselves more efficient in that stance. So when you've got a group of you together, you don't have to take a hodgepodge of all the individual bits just to make sure you can get going. Whereas the team can say, right, your role is just purely this, and stick along that tree.
And I love when they add stuff like that. And this kind of goes back to when Intro and I used to play Albion Online. You had to specialize because the early game everyone can do everything and it was no problem. But when you got into the higher levels of stuff, if you weren't specialized, it would take you forever to get anywhere doing anything. And so I love when games have this where you have to specialize, so you have to interact with people, and it really adds a huge community element and brings everybody closer together to do stuff.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
All right, so the next part is one I'm really excited with. So progression overhaul, improving old skill system with a more robust and optimized framework, also designed to work with items and buffs, obviously. Character attributes added to better create classes and differentiate playstyles. And this is a huge sticking point for some of the people I used to play with when I first played this game. They were the ones that actually bought it for me, is there wasn't classes. And even when they brought out skills, they were really limited. And again, you didn't need to really specialize, just worked a little bit harder and you could get everything unlocked. With them actually, supposedly, from all things that could be seen, adding actual classes, having to specialize, I'm loving the fact that they're actually overhauling the skill system, because I was not a big fan of it before.
Yeah, I mean, that feeds into what we were saying before, wasn't it, about the buff overhaul. So progression and buff actually work together. Like you say, scout, specialized scavenger, specialized scout, specialized, PV, the actual base rate attack schemes and this and the other.
Yeah, I wonder with the new overhaul for the progression system and the class system, I wonder if that's going to truly limit. I mean, I kind of heard what you're saying, but what if it's going to limit, like, you won't be able to be a master of all at some point? Like, will you have to rely on other players in order to achieve a fully defensible base, or against players or zombies? Like, how is that going to function? I'm wondering.
More than likely, I can see where you're going with this, but if they maintain the current gain system they have, where you're killing zombies but you can still do quests, like right now you max out at 200 and you only get so many skill points. I believe it's 995. That sounds right. I believe it's 995. And after that, obviously, if you're not able to level up anymore, you're not supposed to be able to get skills. However, you can do these random little quest notes or whatever, and you get a couple skill points from that. And so I would like to see them keep that going. Maybe buff it a little bit as far as only 1 or 2 points, maybe 3 or 4, something like that, and make the quests much more feasible. Because currently it's like, okay, go kill 5 female zombies, and then you got to search around for 18 goddamn hours to find those zombies, and then you get 2 points, and it's really annoying. But if they were to kind of improve that, give you more points for it, make them a little more focused on, okay, kill these 2 types of zombies, and maybe you can find them in a certain area, so it's not super crazy to have to do. That allows you to do everything if you want to, and you're willing to grind for it, similar to Albion, but still encourages the group aspect.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, again, I don't think it was Joel on that one. I think I can't remember his name. It was one of the others that snuck in a video on Joel's channel. And he was talking about they're trying. Well, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make if you want to be a lumberjack or a builder, you can set yourself down that route. If you want to be, a gatherer or a scavenger, you can set yourself down that route. But if there's only you can take bits in each. So you can become a jack of all trades, a master of none, or a master of one, and minimal in others. So that's where you get these cards coming together.
So the next one is the integrated survival system. Changes to how health, stamina, fullness, and hydration will work. Hunger represented by reduction in stamina max. Eating restores max. Thirst represented by recovery rate. Higher thirst means slower recovery of stamina and health. And this is basically the big middle finger from the devs to all the crybabies and the Bambis that can't stand how difficult the game is to begin with, and they're going to go ahead and crank it up to 12 from 11 now. But I like this. I like when they make things harder, because you reach a certain point after a bit of progression where everything becomes easy street. Zombies are no longer relevant. Hunger and stuff like that's completely irrelevant because you have a solid farm. You have a really good system for getting meat or whatever it might be. But this is going to still just take it up a little bit further to where I'm sure at some point you're going to reach just a amount of. The amount of challenge is gone. A critical mass of difficulty is just, there's no longer relevant. But if they can make it harder and take longer to get to that point, it just increases the fun for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, you actually take damage or such to to your health and your stamina, the more you use it. So if you're running at full pelt for God knows how long, and then you run at full pelt again, then you run at full pelt again, it actually brings these black zones in. So that has, limits you down to 90, 70, 80, and what have you. So you have to eat or drink to actually replenish that back up. So you can't just keep sprinting, then sprinting, then sprinting. Else you can end up with nothing left to sprint with, as per se.
For somebody who loves, who am I trying to reference here? I'll just say it. I'm one of those kind of people who don't tend to venture out as much. Like, you're one of those people that like to go out and scavenge all the time. I love the building aspect. I can definitely tell with a new survival system, it's going to make collecting, getting to concrete in 1 or 2 days next to impossible.
Yeah, which is good.
It's going to take a lot of extra work. And it's, again, one of those features I feel like kind of forces a group dynamic. Because you have multiple people working on stone and wood, or multiple people out scavenging. Because if you're not doing it solo, it's just doesn't seem very feasible with an updated system like that.
I agree, and that sucks for solo players. If you're a solo player, I guess sorry, not sorry. I want there to be a group aspect. I think that's one of the things that is harmed this game a little bit. Maybe not so much on the surface, but definitely subtly. Is that if there's not really a requirement to work in a group, you're not really going to try to have to work in a group. It's kind of the WoW effect where you can just use group finders. There's no more grouping and no one really knows each other anymore. And it takes away from some of the fun elements of the game, which is supposed to be surviving zombies and enemies with your friends. So anything they can do to kind of increase the need for that, I'm fully on board with.
Yeah, I mean, it's been very, very rare that you find games that say, right, come together as a team to actually beat our game or beat other people, and then you've got to sit down and say, right, where's your strengths? Where are your strengths? Like Intro says, he's into the building, so he's got agoraphobia, so he'll never come out of the building at all.
Hermits United.
Maybe me and Sauce will go out. Sauce will survive. I'll be the meat shield and get killed all the time.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. It makes it cool, but in terms of when you try to say single player's not going to have as much fun, I think it's just going to make it a little bit more harder. You're going to have to be a little more economical with what you do and plan your solo journey through the world, rather than just saying, all right, if I go here, I can get straight to concrete, job done. It makes it a lot harder. So again, to end stage, it's not going to, you're not going to hit that before day 49, and if you're not at that point, then you're stuffed.
So, quest system. This one seems really cool, and this is the one that I think me and Amaranth have also gone around a little bit with, trying to kind of figure out what this is going to be in detail. Cool new group quests, which is the one we probably went back and forth on. Dynamically spawns a boss to guard quest objective. Dialogue system that is fully moddable. Trader-initiated quests, and quest POIs will work in random worlds, as well as navigating. Now, that one is huge to me. And I really want to highlight that one because in the past, and I love the Fun Pimps. I obviously love this game. I've got over 4,000 hours into it. I've sunk more time into it almost than I have my relationship with my family and friends. But with random gen versus novice game, it's always felt over the last, 7 alphas last 3 years that I've played this game and interacted with it, that they really worked a lot on novice game. And after a while of people pissing and moaning, they kind of kicked things towards random, gen. And maybe that's not the way it is from their perspective. That's just my perception, and my perception being reality, that's how it felt to me. But with this, and me seeing this, it tells me that they're immediately recognizing, okay, people like novice game, but really could give a fuck about it. But they love random gen. They want that randomness, which is, really the height of this game is how well their random gen is really coming together. So I think this is a big thing that I really want to compliment them on is working in advance of any pissing and moaning to go ahead and get this taken care of from the outset. But the other part is the cool group quest is that's neat. Before it was just this little random yellow sticky notes or whatever they were, post-it notes that you'd find and they're worth 1 or 2 points and they were kind of annoying. But this group quest concept is huge because now again this entire alpha is feeling, as we've said numerous times now, like they're trying to force everyone to come together as a group, at least in your own little faction or whatever it might be. I'm loving that concept, and the dynamically spawns a boss. My only concern with that is currently they only have 2 or 3 bosses. I mean, they really don't have that many bosses yet, so I'd like to see them add more zombies in to be able to make those boss fights a bit more unique each time you go into it.
No, that's it. You know, what if you've got the feral, and they might even bring in the nightmares. Who knows? I don't know if you've ever seen them in some of the other mods.
Is that a mod created though, or is that an actual from them? Because I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I don't know. I know because I do play a lot of mods. This is one of the things I like about the Thumpers as well. Is to look at what the mod community has done, and that's why this game is growing as it is. They look at what they've done and they say, "Oh, I like that bit, and we like that bit," and they'll turn around and they'll actually take it and run with it and bring it into their implementations when it comes across. So possibly, you know, you might. I think what is it? You've got the cop, which is one of the.
Yep. The cop and the feral, and then the screamer I wouldn't really count, but the one that crawls on the ground, the spider zombie. Those are the only 3 ones that I'm aware of.
Yeah, well, I won't call the spider zombie a particular boss, would realistically. I would highly suspect that they might not even tell us and just say, "Oh, by the way, watch your face. Here comes a new couple of zombies." But as long as they don't retry and implement it through, I think it's implemented through the XMA, or did they remove the XMA to make it better? I can't remember which way around it was.
Pretty sure it's still there because they would. I think that's a big thing they'd be removing, and they would have to mention that. I would feel like.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that they actually dumped it down, didn't they, when they were bringing him in? So we don't know. It could be. I think they might put in, but then again, if they put in the new zombies in, the new bosses in, they could have all brought in the bandits. So
that would be cool.
Just make it harder.
That'd be neat if that was like if they haven't fully implemented the bandits. That's the new boss. That they're bringing in. You're gonna come there. There's a couple guys with AKs waiting on your ass. That I would love to see, because at least it gets the bandits in the game in some aspect, and then going forward they can kind of open that up further.
Yeah, I mean, bandits are in the game as per se. Again, going back to the modding community, Starvation mod, True Survivor mod, Ravenhurst, quite a few of the others all have bandits in there. They all have NPCs walking around. Even have bandit camps you got to watch out for. So, they are there. So whether or not they can pull it in from the mod community into the system, we're great to see.
Or at least the modding community will pick up the ball on that one.
One of the things that's getting kind of stale with 7 Days to Die for, publicly announcing that it's PvE oriented, they haven't really added a whole slew of new zombies that they could have added.
Yeah.
A lot of modders have come up with some really great ideas and, the codes for them, and, they haven't picked it up and said, "Hey, we want to use this," or, "Hey, we should make something like this because the community is enjoying it more than vanilla 7 Days to Die." Like, what's that boss going to be? One of those naked alien zombies? I mean, you have to fight those guys regardless. They're at the very bottom. You see that they pushed the behemoth back. Like, that was supposed to be a pretty big deal coming into the game. They could do some retextures or change some stats around and make some kind of new zombie, because I don't know, seeing the same Mrs. Doubtfire zombie and Spider zombie and all that jazz, it's like okay, cool, it's them again. Was it like you remember playing Left 4 Dead, right?
Yeah.
Having that stalker zombie that jumps at you, holy shit! Like, this game needs more jump scares like that, and why can't they create something that launches itself for you, or it sneaks around? Is that too hard of a thing to code?
I don't believe so, and I think they're just trying to get in the other portions of the game first before they revisit that. But no, I agree with you 100%. I feel like that's something that they should focus on implementing, like maybe one zombie per alpha. Let's just get one solid, good boss zombie, a hard zombie, because we've got enough of the other ones, right? Those are fine, the random ones you come across. It's the ones you want to be extra challenging you come across. I mean, they added the exploding one, and they added the ones that are radiated, but those still, I mean, really don't present that much of a challenge.
Well, I mean, they're saying like the trader gives you a quest, so I think they were saying that that's where you can get the weapon mods from, because they'll say, "Oh, go to this location, get this, and bring me these parts back, and I'll trade you it for an 8x scope or something like that." So I think that's how you're going to get your weapon mods from the actual system there.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I like that a lot, actually. I mean, it requires quite a bit of effort. Some of the more rare stuff, maybe you have to, like in MMOs and things like that, you have to sometimes do group quests to get those really rare drops. That would be kind of similar in concept, so I'd be totally fine with that. So the next part, probably really don't need to spend too much time on this one. It's stealth system and new stealth related display bar was with as of yet unknown functions. So spooky.
Cool.
I'm gonna speculate it has to do with audio of some kind, like if you make too much noise, you step on something, then it alerts someone around you. Because right now it's all visual, and I feel like the only aspect missing from that is the auditory part of it.
The way I'm reading that is sort of like what's that game with Solid Snake and all that? Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Where like, the closer you get to a zombie, there's going to be some kind of display bar saying you're about to get spotted. You're about to get spotted. Like kind of a level of being spotted by the PvE element.
You see that in a couple of videos. He's got the yellow bar with the eye on it.
Yep.
And that goes up and down. The more it does it. When he's shooting, that goes through the roof, and when he's crouching down, it's really low.
Yep. That's what I noticed.
I can't remember quite where.
Because I feel like what you're referring to is basically the Skyrim eye, right? Or the I guess you could say the Elder Scrolls eye, which they've had for a while, and the idea is supposed to be that it opens slowly as you're being more noticed and closes as you're not being noticed at all. And so, like I said, that's why I feel like the only thing left is at this point would be the auditory side of things, because there's all kinds of things that crunch and crumble as you're stepping around, but unless there's a player nearby, it's basically fucking irrelevant. I mean, the zombies really don't take much notice to it. So if they were to add that part of it, it makes it that much more difficult to be sneaking around.
Yeah, it seems like they've taken that, like you said, the Skyrim eye out and actually put it as a bar on the screen itself to be constantly in view.
Exactly. All right, so the next part is the terrain and world. There's a couple things I want to highlight here, and I guess give a shout out to Alex for being someone that noticed this. I didn't really notice it, and I believe I have confirmed it based on either the last video or the video before that. But so distant trees, POI editor in the main menu, terrain editor in the main menu, Novice gain terrain vastly improved. Who cares? New height maps for interesting cliffs, ridges, and better variety. Love that. Random maps will be pre-generated to load as fast and play as optimized as Novice gain, which is fucking super huge. And then new tree model for forest biome, which is cool, and underwater decorations. Now, one thing that Alex noticed and that I really didn't see because I just assumed that he wasn't showing all the biomes is that, and I believe he did confirm this in the last video or the second to last video, is that they've removed all of the biomes except for winter, the mountains, forest, and I think desert. I think all the grass based, the standard grass biome, the plains biome, the burnt biome, I think those have all been broken biome have all been removed. And I don't know why. I feel like those are things you could have left in and just left them the same way. I know they're going to look kind of weird if they don't have the the trees and stuff looking as good as the new trees, but completely removing biomes, but this is going to be your beta. That feels like a huge step backwards. Now, maybe the plan is to go forward with only like 4 biomes, which is fine, but I feel like it should be more like 5. Like, yeah, I can understand get rid of the broken biome and the burnt biome, but I feel like you should still keep the grass biome. I don't know. Maybe I'm coming from a weird place on that. But even still saying that, like, I would love to keep the broken biome. I think that's a huge part of the game. The idea of cities that were completely leveled to the point where it's just rubble everywhere. And you're literally walking over rubble.
Well, from what I understand, I think something's gone wrong somewhere. All they've got rid of it is the plains biome. They've merged the plains into the forest or into the desert. They are keeping the burnt and the broken biomes. There was never any mention from what I've seen of them two being removed. It was just the plains one that we're getting rid of because they said, what's the point in having a plains when it can be a forest biome with a few less trees, or it can be a desert biome with a few more trees. Yeah. Making that. That's what they're saying. I mean, it actually says down in the little bit underneath, every biome remastered for Unity 2017-2018, and that was done on the 30th of May. So it says every biome. It doesn't say such and such, such and such, and such and such biome, the 3 that you're talking about. So it seems like they are keeping those biomes there, but I think Joe just said the plains biome is now gone. It's gone to be the desert or
that's good.
Forest.
I'm cool with that then. I might have misunderstood. I'll have to go back and I'll try to refine that, and I'll toss an update in here or something like that, kind of clarifying. If I find something, we can go from there. But yeah, if that's all they did, that makes sense. I'm completely fine with pure logic like that. But if it is what I think it is, then I'm not very happy with that because I feel like they've taken out huge portions of the game. Underwater decorations, don't really get that one, to be honest with you. I'm assuming they probably mean like seaweed and like coral and 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 stuff like that, and not like, okay, let's put my Christmas tree underneath the water and yay celebration. But yeah, that one I would love to have seen in the videos and stuff, because it feels like that was a piece missing before you go underwater and it's just endless ground. You know what I mean? And that's it. So I like the fact they're bringing stuff like that in, but I don't know, show us a little bit of what's going on, Joel. Come on.
Yeah. Just to go back onto the last one to give you a little bit of an update. If you look in the dropped features, it says plains and maple forest as full and distinct biomes. So I think that's confirming that they're just going to get rid of the plains and maples.
That's what it was then.
Just
okay.
Go with a 5.
I'm kind of sad they got rid of the maples, because I liked having those maple where they were just, it was really cheery, very upbeat. If I was going through a broken biome and being super fucking depressed, then I would see a grass biome and I'm a maple biome, whatever it is. I'm super happy now. But nothing will ever be as bad as the biome that I've only ever called it this. I don't think anyone else ever has, but it was the Oklahoma biome that had like the crying babies. Basically, it was the early version of the burnt biome. It was fucking terrible. Though I would like to see if I could find the actual audio from that biome, because that would be great for some kind of horror clip or something, you know what I mean? So AI and pathing system, zombies scan obstacles in 3-block height, which is pretty impressive. Target the middle block followed by bottom, then top blocks depending on block. So now they won't just smack the bottom or a random block anymore. Zombies prioritize obstacles according to block health, so they're basically smarter. Game scans train for multiple pathways a zombie can take after any change. Which is pretty neat, so they can actually use a breadcrumb system, it looks like. And turn smoothing and prediction added to reduce appearance of zigzag grid following, which is big, because they get stuck and they just spin in circles for a while, which is cool because they're easier to kill, but then it removes a huge challenge.
Yeah. I mean, this goes back into the ragdolling system as well, doesn't it, that they've implemented. The zombies are a little bit more, like we were saying before, the zombies, when you get to a certain point, the zombies are just like... Yeah, it's a zombie. I mean, even in the early stages, realistically, a zombie was, it's a zombie. He's going to walk around over there. I'm happy to carry on looting in this building, or, taking this apart, or smacking this tree down. And you just wait over there, go around in a circle. I'll get back to you once I got my bow ready. But now it's just... Go on, intro.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just saying, with that being changed, those packs of dogs now are actually going to be a danger.
Yeah.
Even zigzagging, they still get you.
Yeah, Joe found out, didn't he, when he was in one of the POIs and he's accidentally spawned in 25 dogs.
yeah.
And that was it. He was dead.
That's one. I'll be honest. I can't remember the last time I seen one of those style of dogs. Are they bringing that back? I don't see that mentioned here, and I don't remember seeing them at all on A16. They had the wolves and everything, which was cool. But I loved having the dog days, because you'd be sitting there minding your own business, and all of a sudden you just hear the barking and 7 dogs come, just completely tearing down the side of a mountain, and you're just running for your life. That was a really fun little feature they had in there, and I would love to see them bring back the dog days.
Yeah, I mean. Obviously, Joel did have them in, obviously, the 80s face on that particular video. It did mention that the zombie dogs have got the fur treatment that have applied to the deer and
pigs.
The doe and the pigs, yeah. So it does seem like they're not getting too much love, but they've not given attention as well, if you know what I mean. So I think they're still going to be there. I think obviously you're going to find them in the destroyed biome and what have you. But it'd be nice to see them bring back. I mean, a wandering horde of zombie dogs. Yeah, you're halfway through building up a wall. It's like shit, run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do hope they bring wandering zombie packs in. As well as keeping it with the dogs and different kind of things. Again, a lot of the modding community has done that. Any half hour you can get a wandering horde coming through, and it could be of anything. I remember I was playing one. I had a wandering horde of screamers.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that was not fun.
So the next part here is going to be the just a changes and fixes list. And rather than reading all like 35 of these bullet points, I'm just going to kind of hop through it and pick out ones that I want to highlight and talk about, and then you guys can feel free to do the same. One of the big ones for me is the XP indicator bar. I can't tell you how many times I've had to hit the B button to open up my character menu to see where I was at XP wise. Because I'm trying to grind out 1 or 2 more levels to to unlock something or whatever it is. So that seems really cool. The big one here is the current wellness system is removed. That's been a staple of this game for, I want to say, 6 alphas. I mean, for almost as long as I've been playing, and I think it was very long after I started they implemented this. And I'm glad to see that they're trying to replace it. Though it basically takes like 4 of my videos that I've uploaded and explained how to improve this and made them completely null and void. So now I don't know if I remove those. Do I need to go ahead and file like a cease and desist order? How do I go through that? How do I cope? I can't even. And then the other one was yeah, and then a cool one that I like, and this is really only for a very small portion of the people playing, but I think is very neat, is the fact you can actually pause a multiplayer game. But it's only active when you're playing solo, so that seems kind of cool. Like if you're playing on a server with friends, or maybe or not a server, but like in a multiplayer game with friends, like on a local server, and they leave, and you want to pause it really quick because you have to take a piss or whatever it is, you can pause it. That's really cool. I'd like to see them expand upon that and kind of have a feature where you could say, "Hey guys, phone call, whatever it might be, bio." And say, "Okay, I'm going to pause the game," and everyone just kind of clicks an agree button, and all of a sudden the game pauses and gives just a brief intermission, something like that, versus having to actually exit out of the game and then come back into the game. So it'd be really neat little thing.
That's all right. I'd say that's all right if it's like you say, it's a group PVE system.
Yeah, exactly.
But then that can be well abused on a PvP system, can't it?
So yeah, on PvP that would be a huge problem, which is I'm glad it's not being implemented in something like that, because that would be just a giant middle finger to server players. Because even like in a PvE server with like 20 people, one person's got to use the bathroom really quick, or go get a hot pocket or whatever it might be. That's a problem. But for like if you're just like you and a couple friends, like, hey, I need to go use the bathroom, let's pause this real quick. It just saves the time of having to exit and reload and all that stuff. So I'd like to see them expand upon that. Obviously the map viewable right while using the vehicles. We touched on that already. The arrows stick to targets. I really don't know why that's necessary, though it is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm afraid that's gonna be like one of those Fallout moments or one of those Mass Effect moments where it's just gonna be memed as shit because it's gonna be all kinds of crazy stuff happening. And
I used to be a zombie till I took an arrow to the knee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, just something that's going to go wrong. I like another thing here: water reflections and shading fixed and performance boosted. It's been a huge problem where when it rains, the water on the ground, it goes all the way into like if you're at bedrock, it's on bedrock, even though you're underground in a mine. So I'm hoping that's finally fixed now. They've tried to fix it a couple times. But it's caused a lot of performance issues to the point where you have to turn down a lot of the water settings, which is fine, whatever. If you're just wanting to play the game for PvP or something. But if you're playing PvE and you want to have all those really nice effects and stuff, that takes away a huge portion of the game. And then the other one was the vulture flight attacks and everything. And obviously, Joel showed that it's mostly working now, but they don't look like complete garbage when they're flying at you anymore.
Yeah, if you look a couple of lines up from there as well, Saucy actually says plains folded into desert as sub-biome.
Oh, yeah, I see that now, yeah.
Pine forest merged to forest biome. And that was done on the 14th of April, so I think that actually is...
Go ahead.
Yeah, the one thing I like is if you look just above where it says water reflections is friend chat, party chat, and global chat modes added. So you can actually have a party chat where you can type to each other if you haven't got Discord or something like that. So you can actually just chat away to each other without other people seeing what you're saying. So I think that's quite a neat thing as well. I mean, the one thing for me is the shift. Just pressing shift and then you can let it go. It just keeps on running. That I like the sticky run.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the auto run, yeah, absolutely. Now the other thing I want to come back to on the trees is that there's a lot of stuff right now where certain trees, when they're replanted, look a little bit different. So in the PvP aspect, it's going to require some actual investigating and testing and stuff to see what trees look like what, just to confirm all of the old understandings of how trees grew and stuff like that, how they spawn and things of that nature. So I'm going to work on some of that stuff, but I would encourage anyone that's a PvPer, do your own research on this. Don't just take my word for everything, because I do make mistakes on occasion. And understand how these trees are going to grow when they're replanted. And don't just plant them like an idiot and plant like 30 in a row around your base like a fucking moron, please. PSA for you.
I've seen that one. One of the other things we didn't touch on was obviously that they're hiding all the safes now as well, which is a new one. behind paintings and
Yeah.
what have you.
Now, is that across the board or just in some of the POIs?
It didn't actually say, but I would presume it'll be in the POI. So your bank is still going to have all the safes in it,
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. But I think in houses, in the POI houses, it's all going to be behind paintings and what have you.
You also hinted that there's going to be something special behind some of the paintings, so that's another big thing to keep an eye out for, is to flip over every stone possible to see what's going on with the new stuff they've added.
Yeah, one of these shows in the POIs is, I don't, if you've been into the Nakatami Tower or whatever it is, one of the big white cylinders, you can go around the back and it's actually distorted where you can hit in and get the secret stash from behind and that lot. They've got them in the POIs as well, but it's been covered with the wallpaper of the POI. Yeah, I mean, that takes us back to the point where we're talking about the world and terrain in the previous bit. If you remember what you said, is a POI editor accessible in the main menu. That was, for me, I think that's a little bit of a break, because if you can edit your POIs in the main menu system as per se, that means that the people are going to load up the POIs that they've created and then just walk around and find out where everything is. And then that takes all the, all the run out of it.
Well, I mean, one thing is obviously if you're wanting, it's kind of goes back to the dungeons. Don't do that if you want to be surprised. Don't spoil it for yourself. But another thing they could do is not include all the POIs in that, and just have it be an editor. So you open up the POI editor and it's blank. You have to add one. You go build it, and you can implement it into a map or into your server or something like that. And that's really neat because they've had POI editor, like third-party stuff for mods and stuff like that, and ways to like cut things out you've built and paste it into a new server and stuff. But with this, it's an actual proper, like, okay, you can make a POI, and I'm going to make some assumptions here and actually implement that into a random gen world where it's going to pop up randomly. I would love to see that implemented more, because it really adds just that extra little layer of creativity for people when they do their custom servers.
Well, this is it. Like I said, I just hope they don't put all the POIs into that editor then.
Another feature that I'm not seeing here is they didn't add the ability to turn off names. I've been asking for that for like 4 alphas now. I mean, I've been complaining about it for longer, but I've definitely asked it, and Joel has literally voiced my name and said, "This person has asked for this. That's cool. I like that idea," and it still hasn't come to fruition.
Actually, I remember, because I was reading before we started doing this, it's not been confirmed in any of these changes or anything like that. But when they're bringing the health bar in above the zombies and the bits and pieces like that, there was talk of it being able to be turned on or switched off. So maybe that will remove the name tag system as well.
The biggest thing here that I want to highlight, and I saved it kind of for the second to last, is the ambient lighting. Looks incredible. I don't know if you guys have looked at it yet. I'll send you the screenshots and the tweets and stuff. You should follow Joel, by the way.
Well, one of the most exciting things for me is I'm actually getting a non-potato graphics card.
Ooh,
everything's been bottlenecking on my system. I've been told I actually have a pretty decent processor and hard drive and everything like that, but I have a graphics card that can play like 2-bit games. But
isn't it basically just like a couple of like hash browns wired together?
Pretty much. There's a hamster and a hamster wheel in there, but I think the hamster's dead, so I don't even know how I'm playing games. But no, so something like this, like ambient lighting plus me getting this new graphics card, is really exciting because I'll be able to finally see the game.
It looks really good. Like, they removed basically a shading system, if I remember correctly, that took into account if you were inside or outside based on how the lighting was supposed to work, and it didn't work for fuck all. I mean, occasionally it worked right, but for the most part, it was complete garbage. Like, nothing against them at all. This is just, the system didn't work. I mean, it just didn't. And so they've removed that, and I think they're implementing something later on. But with just that one thing being removed, I think there was a performance increase, and they were able to add some more ambient features. But the lighting is just like, I mean, just an absolute cut above what it was before. So good looking.
Yeah. What I'm hoping that's going to accomplish, like if that's kind of the way they're rolling, porch lights and all that jazz, I want more jump scares. I love horror games, quite a bit for that aspect of, jump scares.
Yeah.
Horror movies these days kind of suck, right? I'm into horror, right? So if they get the lighting perfect, then just the lighting alone may add an element of, surprise and fear if you open up one of those new things they're calling zombie closets. and the lighting hits those zombies just right. You're like, oh shit!
Yeah, and
Gotta get away.
I don't believe we touched on it, and I don't really see it spoken about here in this list. But they've also reworked the sleeper system to where they don't all wake up in the house at once, if I remember correctly. It's they kind of wake up based on what floor you're on and how close you are to them, as far as relation to where you're at. You know, Z and Y and X
good.
and everything. So you'll be, you'll kill the zombies on the first floor, and you're kind of going upstairs like, okay, I've got this. This is easy. I don't hear anything, and all of a sudden there's 10 more zombies that wake up and come at you.
Yeah, that's going to be the Sleepers 2.0 that you talked about second bit. I said it's got plus vulture sleepers, but that's the new system they're put into there. And then zombie closets, yeah, they're just going to be. That's what a jump scare is going to be.
The last one, and this is just kind of the the single teardrop sad face here. The dropped features, the behemoth, zip lines, and then obviously the plains and Maple Forest's full and distinct biomes. This is the part that I think I read, and I felt like this means they're not bringing them back, or they were going to bring them back later. I would like to see them bring back the Maple Forest. The plains I understand, but I feel like the Maple Forest deserves its own biome, even if it's a much more limited fashion. But the Behemoth one, as interested earlier, that's huge. Like Ziplines is cool, and a couple games have them, but they're not super necessary. And the Plains of Maple Forest is kind of sad, but they've kind of accounted for that and made up for it in other ways. But the Behemoth, I mean, that after they announced it and they teased it, and it felt like, okay, that's got to be the next alpha, right? It's kind of the same way as the Bandits. Like, it's like, okay, that's awesome. So where the fuck is it? And then
they showed that. Yeah, they showed that video of the Behemoth kind of in action, and some guy was placing it out, and letting it roam about. That was a huge game changer for PvE, because if you didn't build underground, your base is going to get screwed. When that happens, it's all hands on deck. We need to get rid of this giant hulking zombie. That was exciting. That was an element of danger that is kind of being lost through progression in the game.
Not even existing right now.
Like he was saying earlier, oh, there comes more zombies. Whatever, not a big deal. No, the Behemoth is coming. It's like, oh shit, the Behemoth is coming. We need to kill that.
And yeah, there's no danger on that level. Like you can get a really big Horde Knight, lots of cops, lots of of the construction guys who do more block damage, all that stuff. But most of that can be easily eliminated with a big enough trench and enough turrets, and it doesn't really bother you. And maybe the Behemoth could be as well, but I feel like the Behemoth is something you get when you have that big trench and you have all those turrets, and he just doesn't give a fuck because he's so goddamn big. So you really have to have everyone, like you said, all hands on deck, and you don't have that threat current. Not really.
Again, in some of the modern servers, you don't have the Behemoth, but you certainly have some like boss zombies that you'll come and get that'll come at you. I mean, some make the feral zombie look like they're just kindergarten kids. Some of these zombies that are going there. So I think there is going to be potential. But one of the things that I haven't seen, and this is one of the things that really has got me, and is they haven't included in this, and I think we're going to have to go back to some people and say, excuse us, where's this bit? It's the smell. They said for 17, that's one thing they were going to bring back, was the smell of foods, which attracted the zombies.
No, that was huge. I mean, you get all that meat built up on you, and you're trying to get back to your base, and you're just attracting everything in its mother. So absolutely, I agree. That's something I completely forgotten about.
Yeah, because I mean, again, that adds a lot more immersion to it. You've gone out, you've killed Bambi, you've gutted it for all its meat, you're running back to your base, and all of a sudden you've just, you've got several cop zombies chasing your ass because they want a bite of the stag meat. Not
only that, like the wolves and stuff like that, that are obviously predator animals that are going to have much more heightened sense of smell, would be far more, should spawn, I feel like, almost when you have stuff like that on you. Maybe not regularly. Maybe the timer should be like every hour and a half it'll spawn, so you should be paying attention to get rid of the meat. But like that should be something you have to worry about much more than if you're just wandering around not really paying attention with no meat on you.
This is it. I mean that's one of the things that I think that should be brought back distinctly is that smell system, because that just made you more aware, even if you're PvP, and it was the case of if you had, even because you had carried food with you and you had a bit of meat and that still had a bit of a smell, even if you cooked it, you still had to keep an eye over your shoulder just for that one zombie following you, because it can smell your bacon sandwich in your pocket.
A couple things we didn't really touch on that I think some people would like: wainscoting, which is like I think it's paneling or the trim that goes around a wall, right, or like in a house or whatever, and then the decorative pipe. I'm not big on this because it's just not my style. This might be something that's more in your wheelhouse, intro, but like it really adds a shit ton more. Plus the window trim, obviously, and everything, but adds a lot more of a decorative touch that you can put on something, kind of put your own flair to it.
Well, I don't really play 7 Days to Die Sims or anything. I'm not really trying to be like Susie Homemaker or anything like. Oh, look at it! How was your raid sauce? Do you like the curtains? I just made them. Like, it's not really my thing. But I mean, for people who want to make something unique, or I'm sure there's role playing servers out there. I've never seen that, but to make like whole villages actually look like homes instead of just weird shaped block houses, like you have that aspect of create your own town essentially.
Absolutely, that's what I feel like. There's an opportunity now with more of this coming into it, where somebody could do a Martha Stewart-esque 7 days type video. So I'm kind of throwing that out to the community to make that happen for me, please. I need that in my life.
They've brought it in as well that if you say, for instance, you put 3 windows with trim together, it actually puts it as a single trim rather than 3 different individual blocks. So that's a nice bit they've brought in.
All right, so guys, everyone, I just want to go ahead and remind you, I had Good Intro Music here. I'll include links to his channel in the down below. I'm also going to include a link, obviously, to this list we went over. I've also got Amrath here, or Amrath rather. I'll include a link to his channel so you guys can check out their amazing content. And they both will be joining me when we actually do our PvE playthrough. And Amrath might be joining me for the PvP series once the game goes into full launch. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.